Creating wallpapers for mobile devices. The example that you see on the screen here is a wallpaper I've created for an iPhone 4. The screen resolution, so it's pixels and pixel density, so DPI or PPI are the format for an iPhone 4 or 4S. But depending on what device that you choose, you need to check that you've got the right resolution to start with. And just unpacking what I've done in this wallpaper, if we head over to the layers panel, we can see that we've got just a gradient on a background layer. Then I've got 2 circles as well that have got a couple of blending modes applied to them. So you can see an overlay mode, and then also just a cutout of the school logo with an effect. It's a stroke and a drop shadow on there. So only a couple of things. It's going to be a short tutorial. Alright, so let's get started. Now, before you start your wallpaper, it's really important that you know the screen resolution and the pixel density of your device. So let's head over to our friend Mr. Google and find out. So I did the hard work just before this tutorial. So I researched iPhone 4 pixel density, and depending on what your device is, if it's a Samsung or a Nexus or a Windows phone or whatever it is, if you type in pixel density, it normally will come up with some great results. And so I've got a lovely Wikipedia entry here. And just as this loading up, we can see, okay, so pixel density is pixels per centimeter or pixels per inch or even dots per inch. So that means that how many dots are actually on the screen and how much they're concentrated. So obviously if there's more dots on the screen in a concentrated area, there's going to be much more detail in there, especially if you zoom in, compared to if there's only a few dots. You're going to get a very pixelated image. So if I go to Apple devices down here, scroll down to Apple iPhone 4S, I can see that the resolution is 960 by 640 pixels, and its PPI, or pixels per inch, is 326. Now, it is said that the human eye can recognize pixels up to 300 DPI, which is similar. It's similar to this number. It's not the same. DPI is actually to do with printers and printing ink of CMYK values, and pixels to do with the actual concentration of RGB or red, green, blue lights on the screen. But basically, it just means how good quality or what your quality will be like for your device or your screen. So we've got a list of all different types here. So as you can see, when you're seeing the Retina displays, okay, its PPI is a lot higher than just a high resolution screen. So 220 PPI compared to 128. So that's what it means. So let's make sure we remember those values. So 960 by 640 at 326 PPI. Head over to Photoshop and let's create that document. So File, New, Preset. You want to make sure that it's set on Custom. And I've already got it set to this, but you need to make sure that you've got pixels selected. So there's inches, centimeters, millimeters, points, picas, and columns. 960 pixels by 640 pixels, or whatever your device is. And this is the resolution part, okay? PPI is pixels per inch, and the PPCM is pixels per centimeter. So we want to just stick in the pixels per inch. That is the most common format that we use internationally. Unfortunately, they're not using the metric system, which is a bit of a shame. Anyway, and color mode, we want to make sure that is an RGB color. We're designing for the screen, RGB, red, green, blue lights. We're not designing for printing. If we were designing for printing and printing out posters or brochures, we'd be designing in CMYK colors. That is what the printer prints out on paper at about 300 DPI. So let's leave it at those. Don't worry about the rest of these values. They're the main ones that designers work with. Okay, and you don't need to worry about any of the other settings at all. So let's create that document. Excellent, and I've just realized that I have put the canvas around landscape. So let's flip that around. If you've got that same problem, just go up to Image, Image Rotation, 90 degrees clockwise or counterclockwise, doesn't really matter. There we go. And the first thing we'll do is just create our gradient. So over in our toolbox here, Okay, if you don't have the toolbox open, just make sure you've got Essentials selected over here in your workspace. Scroll down to the Gradient tool. If the Gradient tool is not showing, this little triangle down here means that it's a drop-down menu. So you need to click and hold, okay, and you can choose from Paint Bucket, click and hold, or from Gradient. Then at the top here, we've got the values for the gradient, so the colour. Here we can change it to a radial gradient, a linear gradient, a reflected gradient, a horizontal gradient, well there's two, oh that's the reflected gradient, my mistake, and a diamond gradient. So we're just going to stick with the linear gradient for this tutorial, but if you wish to do any of these other ones, have a play around with them later. And you're probably going to start with probably a default black and white one. So to change those colours, like our tutorial example, we need to change just from a dark blue to a light blue. So let's just click in here. These little boxes down the bottom will determine what colour that you're playing with. So let's hit on that black one there. Okay, I'm going to change this colour to, say, a dark blue just up the top here. And this light white colour here, click on this box. You can see that this little triangle here turns black. That's how I know it's been selected. Click on the colour here, and I'm going to create a light blue sort of colour, maybe a bit lighter than that, and maybe just a little bit brighter too. There we go. And so we've got a lovely gradient here. And just in case, for future reference, we wanted to add a couple more colours, we can add some more colours by looking at the cursor. See how it changes to a hand? Okay, I can add other colours there. So if I wanted to add, say, like a yellow, I can also add a yellow gradient to it as well. But I'm just going to click and drag, pull these down to get rid of these extra gradient stops. And we've got our nice, beautiful blue gradient there. So hit OK, and let's apply that gradient. Now I've got a crosshair on the screen now, so let's just click, hold. We hold down Shift, it will constrain it to 90 degree, 45 degree I should say, angles. If we don't hold down Shift, we've got free reign over which way the gradient will be stretched over. So if I go like this, okay, the gradient is leaning towards that corner. I'm just going to keep it horizontal, so I'm going to hold down Shift, bring that down. And my blue is probably just a little bit too light, so I'm just going to change that again. Okay, you can always go back and change things. Let's make it a tiny bit darker. Hit OK. There we go. Excellent. All right, now next part of the tutorial is just bringing in school logo. All I did was just use our friend Mr. Google, and I just Googled the school name, Ashdale Secondary, and went to Google Images and just picked the first logo there. It's really important that you click Original Image just to make sure you've got the full resolution. So excellent. So that's saved to my desktop, hopefully. Let's just close that. Close that window. And let's just have a peek and see if it's in there. No, it hasn't saved to my desktop. That's okay. We'll just grab it out of the Downloads folder. So I'm just going to show that in the Finder. There's a couple of ways of adding images to Photoshop. One of them is just dragging the image straight from where it's been saved onto the canvas. Another one is copying and pasting it in. But if we drag it straight out of a folder or the desktop, it'll actually come in as a smart object automatically. This means it'll be a bounding box around it, and when you confirm, you'll actually have in the Layers panel a layer smart object little icon there. So to get it out of a smart object, let's just rasterize that layer. Right click on the white text, rasterize layer. Okay, now we can edit it. And the first thing I'm going to do is just get rid of that transparent background, and I'm going to use the magic wand tool to do that. So 1, 2, 3, 4 down. Make sure it is the magic wand tool, not the quick selection tool. Select the white background and hit delete. Then to deselect these marching ants that have the selection area is just Command D. Okay, and let's just move back to the Move tool, and I can move that around the canvas as I wish. I'm just going to leave it there. Next thing I'm going to do is just apply an effect to the logo. So let's go to the effects. Let's go to drop shadow. I'm just going to increase the size there, spread just a little bit, and I'm going to change this from black, the shadow color, to a blue, probably the same color as the shield actually, and just drag it down a little bit more just so it's a little bit darker. Okay, and again I'm just going to move that up a tiny bit more. Then I'm going to add a stroke, and I'm going to add just a fluid, the same color blue. Hit OK. Position, I'm actually going to put that inside the logo. So notice how it changes now. And I'm going to change the blending mode from normal to screen. Okay. Alright, hit OK on that. And next thing I'm going to do is just add these circular bits here. And that's a pretty easy, fun way to just add some, give some texture and give some depth to your backgrounds. All you need to do is just create a new layer. And I'm going to put that layer between the logo and the background. I'm going to call it Circle. And get my marquee tool. It's probably going to be reset to rectangular marquee tool as default. So let's select elliptical marquee tool. Click and drag on the canvas. Okay, make sure that it's selected in this layer here, in the circle layer, not the picture or the background. Make sure on your color palette you've got white as your color selected, and then grab a paintbrush, and we'll make sure our paintbrushes are set to basic brushes. Okay, excellent. At the top here we've got hard brushes, and these are soft brushes. The hard brushes have got a hard edge around them, and the soft ones have got a feathery transparent type edge which sort of blend out more. So I'm going to select probably this one here, 300 looks good. And then after that I'm going to just decrease the opacity maybe down to about 30 here. So it's only going to be at 30% white coming through, so it's actually going to be quite see-through. And I'm just going to paint just quite subtly around the outside. Just click and hold on there. Okay, a little bit more. Okay, just till you've got a sort of arc going with your white. If I turn that logo off, I can see you've got a lovely little arc there. Then I'm going to just deselect that layer, so deselect the marquee, just Command D, or Control D if you're on a PC. Select the Move tool, and then we're going to just scale these up and apply an overlay blending mode. So let's scale that one up, and I'm just going to zoom out on my thing. So you can just Command plus or Command minus to zoom in or out on your canvas, and Command T to transform, or if you like you can select the Move tool and show transform tools, okay, or Command T. Hold down Shift to constrain proportions, okay, and then just rotate it as you wish and bring that in. So you may need to make that just a little bit larger. Okay, so that first one there. I'm going to just decrease the opacity a little bit too, just so it blends a little bit more with the background, and I'm going to change it to an overlay blending mode, so in this section here. Okay, just drag that up a little bit more. Then I'm going to duplicate that layer, so right click on the white text, duplicate layer, circle copy, that's fine, and then the same thing, I'm going to go Command T, and we'll just rotate it just slightly, bring it up the side here. Okay, looking good. You can even scale it up if you wish, or play with the opacity a little bit more. It's up to you for what kind of effects you'd like to do. Just go back to our original. Yep, that looks fine. We'll just bring those two up. So just hold down Shift to select the two layers. Move tool, bring it up a little bit if you want. I might just rotate those two a tiny bit. Okay, and I'm just going to zoom in once more and turn on our logo layer. There we go. So that is the end of this tutorial. So thank you for listening to my Wallpaper Mobile Technologies tutorial.